Hey everyone! So I'm going to take a little bit of time in this video to go over the syllabus for the class. You can find the syllabus in two locations. The first is under the Getting Started tab. You may have already taken a look at it. When you click on Getting Started, it's the second to last sub-tab. You'll see the syllabus. When you click on it, you're going to see a PDF version of the syllabus over on the right-hand side of your screen. It's an easy way to come back to the syllabus at any point during the quarter if you ever need to come back and refer to it. However, you're also going to see underneath this video a link to the syllabus as a Word document. This can come in handy right now because you can click on that link and it will open up the syllabus in a Word document there on your screen, so you can go through the syllabus and listen to this video at the same time, right? You can also print it from there if you so choose. So we're going to go through it. We're not going to go through everything. I just want to highlight some of the more important information that's located in the syllabus. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is on the first page, just a reminder of the hours for this class. Please keep in mind that you are supposed to have 40 hours of lecture and 40 hours of out-of-class work. Spread over 10 weeks, because our 11th week is our final exam week, and those hours don't apply to that last week. The hours only apply to the first 10 weeks. But spread out over 10 weeks, that averages out to about 8 hours of work each week. I go into this in a little more detail in the How to Find Your Way Around video. If you haven't watched that yet, you really should. There's a lot of useful information in there, a lot of advice that I give, and a lot of explanation in terms of how the course is laid out and how you should approach each week to make sure that you are as successful as possible. But I did want to remind you about the hours for the course located here on the syllabus. Remember, those hours are determined by someone much further up than me. I am not the one who chooses how many hours of work you're supposed to have each week. I am simply supposed to make sure that you do have that amount of work each week. The 4 hours of lecture would normally happen in the classroom each week, and then 4 hours of homework each week. But because this is an online course, you're responsible for getting through all 8 hours each week according to your own schedule as you see fit. But it is roughly 8 hours of work each week. That's everything. That's the PowerPoints and handouts and video lessons, as well as the graded assignments that you have to submit. It's all of it. All of it should average out to about 8 hours a week. Some weeks might be less, some weeks might be a little more, but overall it should average out to 80 hours over those 10 weeks. Okay. Another thing to keep in mind that you might want to just glance at are the course objectives, just so you can go into the course with a clear idea of what you're supposed to learn. This is a composition course. We are here to strengthen your writing skills. So if you go through those objectives, those 11 items that are listed, that's what it's all about. It is about improving your writing skills so that you can write on a more academic and professional level. We're going to look at pre-writing. We're going to look at thesis statements and introductions and body paragraphs and conclusions, everything that goes into an essay. But we're actually going to do that towards the end of the course. The first 7 weeks are focusing just on paragraphs, right? We're going to make sure that we can write really strong paragraphs. Because let's face it, in the real world, you're not going to really be writing long essays on the job, but you might be writing a paragraph worth of information, whether it's in, a chart, whether it's in instructions to a patient, whether it's in a memo, whether it's in an email, right? A paragraph, a unit of thought there, that's probably what you're going to most likely work with, in the real world. You might, though, find yourself in a situation where you're writing an email or something for the job that requires multiple paragraphs. You might also, at some point, move forward with your degree and take more classes where you'll be required to write more essays. So we're going to focus on those individual paragraphs for a while, but then we are going to write an essay at the end. Most comp courses are just nothing but essays. But for this one, we're focusing on, things that would be more realistic in the real world and on the job. But we will cover essays towards the end. It's just a 5-paragraph essay. Even then, it's still not anything huge. But our goal is to make you a better writer, make you a more professional and more academic writer. You'll notice that in those course objectives, there's nothing mentioned about APA format or research. That's not what this class is designed for. There is a Comp 2 class that some of you might take depending on the program that you're in. That class will focus on research, but this one does not. We will take a brief look at APA format and research in week 1 here, but that's it. It's really just to introduce you to it, to make sure you have a basic understanding of it. And then we're going to immediately in week 2 switch gears and start focusing on basic composition, right? That's what this course is all about. It's a writing course. Be prepared to write. Not all of it will be formally graded, where you get an A or a B or a C. A good bit of it you're going to get credit for just for putting in the effort. But, at the end of the day, you're going to do a good bit of writing for this class, one way or the other, right? That's what the class is all about. Now, the book for the course, if you're looking on page 2, it's going to look like this. It's probably backwards to you. Apologize for that, but you can still get a good gist of what it's supposed to look like. If you do not have the book yet, it's okay. The book helps to reinforce the lessons in each module. They work hand in hand. You do not need the book to do any of the assignments. None of my assignments come from the book. The book is there to simply help reinforce the lessons, and it is a different method of getting the material. So if the PowerPoints and video lessons aren't quite doing it for you, you can go to the book, and perhaps that will help you even more. Others, you'll be fine with just the PowerPoints and video lessons. It all works together. Got it? Even if your assignments list chapter readings, those chapter readings are still just to help supplement the lessons that are in the module that week. Okay. Let's see. Page 3 tells you how your grades are distributed in the course. So you have your discussion forums. Each week you will have a discussion. I will provide you with a prompt. You will post your response to that prompt by Thursday night, and then you will also choose 2 classmates to respond to before the discussion closes on Sunday night. Each discussion is only open during that given week. So week 1 discussion closes Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. and after it closes, you will not have access to it after that. So you have to make sure that you do them in that week in order to get the points for it, because in all, they total 15% of your overall grade. That might not seem like much, but if you think about it, if you don't do any of the discussions, the highest grade you could possibly get for this class would be an 85%, and that's if you score perfectly on everything else. So make sure you're keeping up with the discussions. The next category are your basic assignments, your weekly assignments, like your journal every week, anything that's labeled like week 1 assignment 1 or week 2 assignment 2, those types of assignments. That falls into this category. They're worth 20% of your overall grade. Missing a few of these probably isn't going to have a huge effect on your overall grade, but missing a lot of them will. I will talk more about them a little later in this video. The next category, though, are the formal writing assignments, and there are 2 of them. 2 paragraphs. That's it. Just 1 paragraph that you'll do in week 6, a second paragraph you'll do in week 7, 1 paragraph each. Those are worth 40% of your overall grade. Again, I'll talk about them in a little more detail a little later on, but that's a significant portion of your grade. If you are missing one of those, you will most likely fail the class. It's very important to make sure that you do those 2 formal writing assignments. Again, only 1 paragraph each. That's it. Then the final category is your final exam essay. It will be based, that essay will be based on one of the 2 paragraphs that you write in week 6 and 7. You'll choose one of those topics and expand on your ideas to create a full essay instead of just 1 paragraph. It's a 5-paragraph essay, and it's worth 25% of your overall grade. So again, not submitting it can have a big impact on your grade. Right? But that's how everything is distributed in the course. Please keep in mind that you need a 60% or higher to pass the class, right? What else can we look at? The course outline is on the next few pages. That can give you a good vision of what's to come, you know, if for planning purposes, but it is really just a very abbreviated, brief explanation of what we're doing each week. You definitely want to rely more on the outline in each module to know what you need to do each week. But again, seeing it here listed, you know, all together can help you plan. You can see when big assignments are due, you know, and, you know, help you plan long term a little better. All right. Let's see. After the course outline, we sort of get into some of the other policies for the course. So on page 9, student acknowledgement of policies. First thing you're going to want to pay attention to there is at the top of that page, my email address as well as my cell phone number. That information can also be found under Meet Your Instructor in the Getting Started section under Content, but it's also here on the syllabus if you need to contact me. Let's see. The attendance policy. I talk about attendance under the Getting Started tab in the sub-tab on attendance and weekly deadlines. But one thing you want to remember that I want to point out right now is that if you miss more than 20% of the hours for this class, you run the risk of being withdrawn. So that basically amounts to 2 weeks, and it's not consecutive. It's any 2 weeks of the course. If you miss more than 2, you will likely be withdrawn. So please do your best to keep up with attendance, making sure you're marked present each week. If you're unsure of how that works, go back and rewatch the video where I explain it in the attendance and weekly deadlines sub-tab under Getting Started. Let's see. The bottom of page 9, we start our academic integrity policy. Basically what we're talking about in that section is make sure you're doing your own work, and make sure that if you use outside sources, you're giving credit in some way and not trying to pass it off as your own. So make sure you do your own work. Don't copy off of each other. Don't submit things for this class that you've submitted for other classes unless you talk to me about it first. Don't go to the internet and look up answers or look up prompts and try to pass it off as your own. Again, we cover APA format and plagiarism and research in the first week here, but it's just a brief overview. The rest of this course, you should not be using any type of outside sources. There's no research in this class. Everything should be your own ideas and your own words. All of them. If you get caught having used information from another source, you will receive a 0 on that item. I will give you a chance to redo it. Some instructors might not. I will give you a chance to redo it. unless it's a discussion. But if it's any other type of assignment, I will point out what the issue is, and I will give you a chance to make it right. But you're going to learn about plagiarism here in week 1. So after that first week, you should know full well what this academic integrity policy is all about. Let's see. Scrolling down. Let's see, page 11 talks about the Learning Assistance Center. Use that to your advantage. Mrs. Sandy Rice is just, she is a treasure. And if you are struggling with this course in any way, reach out to me first. I'll do what I can. But Sandy is also a very valuable resource, and she is super helpful for students who are struggling, right? Let's see, what else? We get to page 13, we get into some of my individual instructor policies. Let's see. The first one is respect policy. The only way this is really going to affect us is in the discussion forums. Just remember to be respectful and polite and professional in the discussions. I don't have any additional attendance policy for my class. Just know that if you know what the attendance policy is for the school, that's the same attendance policy for my course. But I do always want to encourage students who start to fall behind and can't trigger your attendance on a given week, reach out to me so that we can figure out how to make sure you can keep up with attendance, right? I will send reminders for triggering your attendance, and then if you do happen to get marked absent, I will also send an email to you notifying you of that and reaching out to see if I can help in any way. Once you're marked absent, it's really out of my hands at that point. If you feel like it was an excused absence, you can go to the registrar and see if there's something that can be done, you know, whatever the case may be. But even if you're marked absent, you still need to do the work that week, even if you're turning it in late, which leads to the next policy you'll see listed, which is my late work policy. I always tell students to assume that I won't accept late work, but that's really just to help make sure that you don't fall behind in the class. I'm always willing to accept late work, to a point. All of your work is due Sunday night at midnight each week. So let's say you couldn't get it all in Sunday night and you have to turn some of it in on Monday or Tuesday. No big deal. That's fine. The only thing that doesn't apply to is the discussions, because once they close, I can't reopen them. But all the other work, if it's due Sunday night and you can't turn it in until Monday or Tuesday, no problem. It really is not a big deal. If you are going to take a whole extra week to get that work turned in, reach out to me and let me know. Just let me know that you are aware you haven't turned it in yet, and you have a plan for when you're going to work on it and when you're going to get it turned in. Every week after that it's late, you'll get 10% docked for it, 10% of the overall points. So 10% for each week it's late. I will not accept any late work after week 10. After that 10th week, we go into the final week of the course, and there's just too much to do in that last week for me to be also worrying about late work from weeks 5, 6, or 7, whatever the case may be. If you ever have a question though, will she accept it, won't she, should I turn it in, should I not, reach out to me, you know. We'll take a look at it together and we'll go from there. Always communicate, right? The plagiarism policy, I've already talked about that with the academic integrity policy. Just do your own work. You shouldn't be using any research for this course, so you shouldn't have to worry about citing anything. It should just be all your own ideas and all your own words. Let's see. Method for evaluating students. So we have our discussion forums. Remember, those are worth 15% of your overall grade. Remember, each forum opens, each discussion opens Monday when that week begins. You're supposed to have your first response posted by Thursday night, and then you have to choose 2 classmates to respond to before the discussion closes Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. Once that discussion closes, it is closed for good, and it won't be reopened. So you have to get that discussion completed in that 7-day window, or you will get a 0 on it. If you post your response but forget to respond to 2 classmates, you'll get credit for your response, but you will lose points because you didn't respond to 2 of your classmates. So just try to keep on top of those. Let's see. The exercises and homework assignments, remember that's worth 20% of your overall grade, and that sort of encompasses all of the other smaller assignments throughout the course. So your journal each week, and anything that's labeled like week 1 assignment 1 or week 2 assignment 2, so on and so forth. Some of those you will do through text submission, meaning you'll type your response right in the text box, just like you do with the discussion. Other assignments will be in a Word document, and you'll have to submit some sort of file when you go to turn it in. If you don't have access to Microsoft Word, I give you instructions for how to use Google Docs, which is free. You can also do it in a PDF if you have access to that. All right. Let's see. I grade them based on effort. These sort of this category of assignments. As long as you are following the instructions and putting forth effort, you'll get full points. If you submit an assignment and it's pretty clear that you really didn't read the directions or go through the lesson, you might receive a 0 and be asked to redo it. Most of the time though, even as long as it's clear that you're trying, that you understood what you were supposed to do, just aren't quite there yet, you won't get penalized if you get answers wrong. Right? I will give you feedback and tell you what you got wrong and why it's wrong and what the correct answer was, but you won't get points taken off just because you're wrong. Let's see, what else? Your writing assignments, the 2 formal ones that I talked about, those are the 2 paragraphs that you'll write in week 6 and 7. Remember, those are worth 40% of your overall grade. Missing one of those, very likely you would fail the class. Missing both of them, you would absolutely fail the course. Because you'd have to score perfectly in everything else just to get a 60%. Anything below a 60 and you fail. So without those 2 writing assignments, it's very difficult to have a passing grade in this class. But remember, they're only 1 paragraph each. That's it. And you'll be given a chance to revise. It's not required, but I will give you detailed feedback on each paragraph, and if you're not happy with your grade, you can revise them and increase your score. Okay? Both of those are required to be submitted in a formal document. The instructions will indicate that it needs to be in a Word document, but again, you can do a PDF or you can use Google Docs. Both of those paragraphs will then feed into your final exam essay. You'll choose one of them to expand on and write a full essay on it, a 5-paragraph essay. That will be in the last week of the course, in week 11. It will be a text submission, just like your discussions and your journals. It won't be in a Word document. Final exam will be in a text submission. There will be a rubric that I use to grade it, and it's worth 25% of your overall grade. So the writing assignments, the 2 paragraphs, and the final exam essay, those make up 65% of your overall grade. Think of those as your exams. right? That in other courses you have exams that make up a big portion of your grade, because that's how the instructor makes sure that you have learned the material you're supposed to learn. This is a composition course, so we don't take normal exams. You write. That's how I make sure you've learned what you're supposed to learn. So you'll have 2 paragraphs in week 6 and 7, and the final exam essay in week 11. Right? Okay. The last page of the syllabus is the acknowledgement sheet that you would normally fill out and hand in to me. But you'll notice at the bottom I explained that there's an assignment in week 1 that asks you to confirm that you've read over the syllabus and that you agree to the policies. So you'll be doing that when you get to the week 1 homework assignments instead of filling out this sheet. Right? So I think that's pretty much all the important information from the course syllabus. There are some other sections that you might want to read through at your own convenience, but I think I've hit the highlights that are important for you to be aware of in order to be successful in this class. If you have any questions about the syllabus, please reach out to me. Otherwise, you're free to move on to the next item this week.